This is the meeting that was a joint budget committee meeting, so if any budget committee members are here, I would invite them to also review the documentation, because it's kind of segue into both meetings, which I know for the record. So in a sense, we had two meetings in one that day.
Ms. Waka, you were here for that, so if you want to take a vote on that.
I think what we could do here, we could do a 2AI and a 2II, 2A or 2B vote here. So what we could do is we could do the budget committee portion first, and then we'll do the overall portion, the executive overall portion second.
Yoli, you're also on the committee, correct? Okay, so you guys have quorum. So 1 minute, please. I know you guys got them also at the time, so.
If there's anybody that needs an agenda, raise your hand. Anyone? Lisa? Anybody else need an agenda? Thank you.
Yes.
For clarification, where does the budget and finance committee end and where does the executive committee start?
When I was typing this, I tried to put that in bold with asterisks. That should be there. Yeah.
7:30 p.m. the budget committee portion of the annual report is now.
Yeah, it's second page in the back.
Yeah.
The back. And it goes, the motion, the question of the motion to approve the 2013 LA 32 proposed budget is on the third page. It's the last, has two asterisks. With the vote, the motion to approve 301. Budget committee,
And I'm just thinking here, after we review this documentation, I scroll down to the end, I could probably put an area for signatures by the treasurer and maybe one other member of the committee to stamp the budgetary portion of that. So I'll make that change on the formal and approved documentation. Does everybody agree with that?
fine.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and go with the, budget and finance committee. Yeah.
If Anthony, as the chair, you want to call for the question on approving the budget and finance committee portion of the agenda?
I'm still trying to find that specific location, so it's page 2.
Right, Mark.
Show them where it's at 7:30 p.m. Maybe we could have had a budget and finance committee, it would have been good to go. Because since we do not have a budget and finance committee meeting, we're not doing it. Almost. Give it to myself.
Okay. The other committee members have a chance to review Yoli. Ms. Duarte? You're in the right place.
Hello, ladies, come on in. Have a seat.
Take it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Anthony Montana will call the question now.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the budget and finance committee portion of the meeting without any correction.
Okay, good. Second from the budget and finance committee?
Angelica? You want to, or you have a choice?
All in favor of approving the budget and finance committee portion of the June 26th joint meeting, please signify by raising your hands.
Raise your hand, please.
Raise your hand, please.
The committee members?
Budget.
No, budget and finance.
I see 4. Okay. Opposed? Abstention? Okay.
Okay, the
Passes
second
4-0-0. Now we'll go to the II, which is for the executive committee.
Okay, call for the question.
Okay,
Motion to approve the minutes of the executive board of June 26th.
okay. Okay, we got a second on that. Thank you for bringing that, Tammy. I'll second it. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. And I will note the additional spaces for signatures for the budget and finance committee chair and one other member of the committee.
Thank you. And can you email that to me?
In fact, what I can do here is I can type that in and then I can just download on this for you.
Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. That's my wife.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
if, there are some public speaker cards for those who got here. If you want to speak on a specific item, you have to fill out a public speaker card.
Yoli. I don't think so. Careful.
Okay, hold
Oh,
this.
sorry.
I'd like to bring this, is there anyone here today that's going to speak on behalf of item number 3?
Yes, 3A.
Two people?
Madam Chair, would you like me to read the motion?
Yes, please.
3A?
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, item 3A, LA32 NC official letterhead. Recommend to the LA32 board, motion to recommend the LA32 official letterhead on all outgoing correspondence, social media, outreach material, extra. Okay?
Okay, this particular issue was brought forth by some stakeholders, and we brought it forth to committees so that we can review the possible letterhead options. After consulting with the city attorney and Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, they have informed us that as a new board, we have every right to change our letterhead as we see fit, as long as we stay within our bylaws. The original application that actually went out to the Empowerment LA actually listed all 6 communities. Current letterhead only lists 4 communities. Sereno, Hillside Village, Rose Hill, University Hill. The 2 additional communities not listed is Emery Park and Sierra Park. And Emery Park? That's Sierra Park. So tonight's vote is to, I know we have two speakers on this subject today, so I'd like to give the opportunity to open it up to public comment, and then we can move forward from that.
First speaker is Yoli Garcia.
Hi, good evening.
It'll be 2 minutes, Joey.
Okay, so I would like for us to actually change the current letterhead that we have. We have here that it says LA 32 communities. However, if you look at the initial application of the NC, they're identified as neighborhoods, and it says that all the area within the 9032 zip code area is it describes it as a single Korean community. It also states that every part of the 9032 zip code area is in Sereno, and that persons residing or working in any of the constituent neighborhoods of 9032 consider that they live in and or work in Sereno. Okay, the LA 32 Neighborhood Council as proposed will constitute a 21 board persons, 5 of whom will serve as executive board members, representatives of stakeholders from every quarter of the Sereno community. Okay, so the purpose of LA 32, according to this application, is that the Sereno community will have the opportunity to participate more in local and citywide government affairs, and to better avail of the services provided through the offices of done in pursuing those aims. Okay, so either we clarify here that Hillside Village, Rose Hills are not communities, because we're misinforming by calling them communities, when in fact they are neighborhoods of Sereno. So either list it as neighborhoods, and we list all the neighborhoods that are encompassed in Sereno, and we're leaving out Sierra Vista, we're leaving out other neighborhoods that are not part of this application. My recommendation would be not to include any neighborhoods at all, and just have a strong force as a United and Sereno area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Sorry. 2 minutes?
What my wife said also, I've contacted the city attorney's office, I've contacted city council's office.
Okay.
None of them have any kind of boundaries or any kind of legal documentation that says that Rose Hills, Hillside Village are communities. They're just nicknames that were here a long time ago. People have said community, but they're not. You ask for boundaries, there's no boundaries to them. Yet on your website, you have here this map that says that, you know, this north region is Rose Hills and Sereno. You can't tell me where one stops, the other one starts. That's what's informing the community, because as a stakeholder, if I live in one of these regions that says it has Hillside Village, Rose Hills, and Sereno, and I'm looking at this map and say, well, where do I come? Is it Rose Hills, Hillside Village, and Sereno? So really, how does that help the community empower itself when you divide it with this nickname? There are communities, but just stay on the other hand, it is communities. You know? But they're only nicknames, they're not communities. Because the cities have not ruled them as communities. So they go by what the city says, not what people say, or what you feel, or I feel. These are also our opinions. So I think you should just stay Sereno only. Matter of fact, I think you should change the name of the NC to a Sereno Neighborhood Council. That's what we are, Sereno.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, just to clarify, the actual name of the neighborhood council at this stage cannot be changed because there's a moratorium on the actual bylaws. But for the following, board can probably, look into that matter. So that I leave that open because we won't be able to do that specifically. However, for this particular issue, do we have someone? Oh, sorry. Okay, we have one more.
Val Marquez.
My name is Val Marquez, and I'm concerning with the Sereno. Listen to the name. We're in Emery Park. Emery Park has existed since 1923. Actually goes before that. I have documentation here to prove it. The LA Times has written an article. The concern I have, that the same people here that are wanting to change this community, they've been printing out, they've been promoting. I'll give you an example. I'm a designer and volunteer for this community, actually. I design whatever they need for free. This is my business. I've been in business for 30 years. And I get these people, the same two here from Historical Society, they get my material and they change it. Look at the bottom, it says El Sereno Neighborhood Council. It used to be LA 32 Neighborhood Council. What kind of integrity is that? Now, if they want to change the name, then they'll go to the city, make a petition. But, this is LA 32. They represent these communities. They exist. We're in El Sereno, but they exist. It's historical. They're a historical society that should accept the fact that we exist. University Hills, Hillside Village, Emery Park, and Sierra Park. We're all together here. We can't separate each other. We need to unite. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a few chairs.
Can I clarify that since he called us out?
Public comment,
Yeah, we can't change.
We should, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, set the ground rules in for public comment. Public comment under the Brown Act, which governs public meetings in California. The board in front of us is not allowed to make any comments about the issues that are being discussed in public comment, okay? And so, that way, when you come up and speak, the board in front of you, public comment will not be allowed to respond. Now, on agendized items, once the public comments on the agenda items, then the board will have discussion among itself on the agenda issue. The idea is here is that we hear from the public first on any given agenda item, and then the board takes your information and incorporates that into the discussion among the board as we go through the agenda item.
Okay, so happy
They also need to address the board.
Yes, please address the board when you're in public comment. The other, so moving forward on this, board members, I'll start with you.
Good evening, stakeholders. My name is Anthony Manzano. I'm thankful that you guys all made it out today. We've been speaking about this subject. It's been agendized. It was on last month's agenda. We just didn't speak about it. But this topic, this specific issue about what community is what and where do we live and how it's noted on our community letterhead and even what to call ourselves has been going on for about 2 years. I was the former president of the neighborhood council, and I'm now the treasurer. Connie's our current president and chair of the committee of the board. What I'd like to mention, though, is that the information provided is semi-accurate, but you're not hearing all the truth. I'm very thankful that the two stakeholders that spoke up, stood up, and I'd like to say is that they want to go with what the city says, which I'm glad, because the city does say that there is an area called El Sereno. And what it is reflected in this map right here. So this map is of 1915, June 10th, certified, stamped, and approved by the city of Los Angeles, meaning there's exact boundaries for which El Sereno exists. Now what happens is within this map, that's on city records, official and downtown, dated from 1915, you'll see that the area above is already labeled City of Los Angeles. It already pre-existed. It was already part of the city. The reason why I'm aware about this is I've personally been studying the history of our community since 2005. I have 8 years of doing research. Not only that, what I did, and I can pass them out to the executive committee members just so that they're aware. This map of Bairdstown, which turned into El Sereno at the time of annexation, is reflected on our Alley 32 Neighborhood Council. So for those stakeholders to stand here and say they don't know where they live, there's no specific lines, there's no boundaries, each of the communities is indicated here on the Alley 32 Neighborhood Council map. What you do is you put the Bairdstown map over the 90032 zip code map, and that would give you a representation of El Sereno. Then what happened in the 1950s and 60s, a portion claimed to be called Hillside Village. It's still within the El Sereno portion of Bairdstown. Also, University Hills was established when they built Cal State LA. Also within the portion of Bairdstown. The difficulty we're having is, now El Sereno wants to claim areas that are outside of the Bairdstown map. And that was annexed in 1912. So the position by the stakeholders to say that it's all El Sereno, or that we should all call it one neighborhood council, would be absolutely false. And what it would do is it eliminate those neighbors that live in the city property that was already part of the city in 1912. So the question is what time frame are you looking at? Are you looking at El Sereno 1915 to current? Or are you looking at El Sereno from 1950 to the past? If you go to the past, I have written an extensive portfolio talking about the archived history of Rose Hills, which has plenty of maps, newspaper clippings, articles, and what it does is it verifies and establishes on city records that Rose Hills is older than El Sereno. So for those to come and say that it's all El Sereno, what you're doing is you're making an effort to attempt just to take property that's not yours. Meaning, why don't they take Monterey Hills? How come they don't take Highland Park? How come they don't take Lincoln Heights? They can't, because El Sereno has a specific boundary that is certified, and I'm glad you mentioned that, in the city records of 1915. Now, there's many who would say that El Sereno may be expanded, it got bigger, perhaps it now includes other areas. They have to have proof. They have to have the city council action, and they have to show evidence. So with that said, I'd like to hear what the other committee members have. You can review any of these. I can pass them out because you are committee members. So I'd like to hand them this so that they can be aware of the actual map of El Sereno, which would in turn be the actual map of Bairdstown, which is on city files at the city clerk's office. If you have any questions or like more details, I could be more elaborate, more extensive, and more thorough with the research. I just want to spend everybody's hour talking about history that's already set in place.
Thank you, Mr. Manzano.
I just want to say that maybe we should take this item and make it a one single item for discussion. You know, make a special meeting and have this one item, just have the community be aware that this is happening and that there needs to be discussion, and bring the entire board to have a full discussion, all board members and all community members who are interested in this issue.
I agree. One of the things that, having gone through the application myself, the actual boundaries and area profile is described in our original application, and it says that the zip code 9032 less the area included within the census tract, communities comprising LA 32 are El Sereno, Emery Park, Hillside Village, Rose Hill, Sierra Park, University Hills, and associated lands. And maybe it is a good opportunity to have a special meeting and bring the various residents from the various communities to come and give their input so that they can, as a community, we can have more time on this because it seems like it's a little bit rushed today. Mr. Nadia?
Where do I begin? I love El Sereno, just like I'm sure everybody else does here. And the same question that I get when I tell them I'm with LA 32 Neighborhood Council is, what is that? Where is that? So I have to go through the whole process of explaining that, it was a 30-second, established neighborhood council and so on and so on. So I myself, I would love to have it called the El Sereno Neighborhood Council.
Okay, but we know we can't do that this year.
I understand that,
There's a moratorium on the bylaws.
but that's what I feel.
So today, I'd like to just, move forward on this. What do you think, Mr. Johnson, in terms of the actual motion on the table?
Actual motion, I agree with Tammy and you, Tanya, just issued that this issue is not being given proper justice by trying to make a decision here tonight. I will state for the record that previous boards, and this is a letterhead from 2008 that shows El Sereno, Emery Park, Hillside Village, Rose Hills, Sierra Park, University Hills. This would have been during when Hugo Garcia was president during that time period. Okay. But also too, more recently, then somehow it got changed back to just 4 neighborhoods. El Sereno, Hillside Village, Rose Hills, University Hills. Okay. I'm kind of a firm, there's a prior practice here that the CIS communities were already named on documentation, and in talking to people who are part of the original incorporation, the CIS communities were part of that process. But also too, at the same time, those are just my observations and discussions. There's always, my thought process is there are always communities within a community, and the respective history of those little communities should be respected, but I'm just one thing. And for us making this, and I would probably lean this way towards what was on here originally, recommending those neighborhoods. But I also think too that there is a process here where, one of the comments that was made is that they would like to see the neighborhood council change. Also, board member just said that too. And that's something that's a conversation for a longer day.
Okay,
So I'll leave it at that. But I think as of right now, I'm looking at what the prior practice already was.
Okay, so should we move forward and making a motion to include all communities, take out the communities, or do we move forward on having a special meeting so that we can discuss this further?
Under the bylaws, and I'll say this, if a decision is made here tonight, under the bylaws, there is a process called referendum. And if the community members feel that they want to, based upon the decision that's recommended to go forward to the general board, then I would refer them to review the bylaws to see where they want to go. That's a statement of disclosure. I'm looking here, I have a hard time arguing against the prior practice that's shown on this documentation. I would put a motion up that we list all CIS communities as a form of inclusiveness for this body, but also too, based upon the decision that we recommend and the general board takes the final vote, then stakeholders have that right under the bylaws to go back and to make it a further effort from that.
Okay,
Well,
so,
why go through all of that when we can have a meeting where we can have more people get input and then have the board actually vote it at that time? If you have a special board meeting, you have the entire board, hopefully, show
We've
up.
got a committee.
And, and then bring it to, this is a committee, this is the committee that is laid here and this.
I
So just,
second.
I wanna, just.
We're out of order, guys.
Thank you.
Go
The
ahead, Pam.
executive committee is a standing committee and can also make recommendations to the general board.
So that would be the process, in my mind, so if we want more input, if this board wants to make a decision about the names inclusion or exclusion, you can do it, and, the community can have, their say-so later on. But I thought we were including the voices of the community making decisions like this, especially because it will affect people on how many people are here from University Hill?
Yeah. How about Hillside Village? How about, Emery Park? El Sereno?
Proper?
So I agree with Tammy, Mr. Johnson, I think we should move forward on tabling this and having a special meeting so that we can invite the entire community and giving like maybe 2-3 weeks notice that we can announce it so that we can have, and and at the various homeowners association, so we can make sure that everyone's very aware of this.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process was here tonight that we were going to, I mean, it was kind of broad language here anyway, but I agree with Tammy and you on this issue that
I'm sorry.
for the sake of inclusiveness, yeah, we need a special inclusive community meeting on this one issue.
Thank you. I think we're following the right path as long as it's going to be heard again. To send this or to have a special general board meeting, there's really no sense for that, because if you're going to ask for the whole board to meet again, you might as well send it to the board now. The real purpose of what we should do is sit down and have a committee meeting. We are the proper committee. I'm glad that stakeholder brought that up, but just because the stakeholders can come and say this is what we want, it doesn't really mean they know what the facts and the history are. So what should be done is perhaps the neighbors should first be made aware of where they live at, so that when they come and provide the public input, and they come and speak to us, and we receive their public comments, we know that those stakeholders are basing their position on facts. Because anyone can stand up here, you myself, and say, you know what, thanks for everyone coming out to San Marino tonight. But you're all gonna laugh because you know what, that's false, and basically you're gonna say, I'm unaware. So if you guys come, and you come back to us and say, you know what, it's all El Sereno, but you're making the choice without all the information, then you guys are unaware, or basically telling us to take a position, but not being aware of all the facts. So what I would do is I would refer back to Scott Johnson, and I would go to past practice, and I would utilize all 6 communities on our letterhead, so therefore you're including every single stakeholder possible. If by chance you wish to eliminate everyone, you say, you know what, but it's all El Sereno, then by default, you've discouraged and you've disenfranchised about 30,000 neighbors, because some of them live in Rose Hills, some of them live in Hillside Village, some in University Hills, and you just said, forget them, it's all El Sereno. So you have to think about those neighbors that are not here, that actually live in another community that is different from what you wish to represent. Thank you.
That's exactly my point.
And we can do it at a committee meeting, we could do it here or at another
Right
committee
now.
meeting, but not at a special meeting.
Okay, so what we could do then is we can have the special meeting so that we can move forward and we can invite the various neighborhood associations so that they have a voice in this vote. Yes.
One thing that would override all our work here is any pending city actions for the city council. And if I recall, there is an issue working its way through city council regarding signage, which defines boundaries. That's going to go forward before it's full city council that already went through committee.
But actually that, according to council, they've advised us that that has really nothing to do with our specific letterhead. LA 32 pretty much can do, whatever they feel is appropriate to represent the communities, either with or without. We could put a city logo, we could put the standing committees, we can actually do whatever we want with our outreach materials. That we're not guided by city rules or the actual legal city name. So I would like to have this motion forward at a special meeting, so, anybody bring a question, call for a question?
Let's craft a motion and then let's get a second on the motion.
Yes.
recommendation to the board. If you're just going to a special meeting.
Placing it here. Where they get
I'm trying to multitask here. Repeat that again, please.
My question was for the chair, if we do hold a special meeting, and we put this on the agenda to take an action, who is providing the recommendation?
Executive committee. We take a vote today.
And,
The recommendation is to recommend a inclusive city, community meeting. Okay. When we go forward with this, let's try to let's take one step ahead. Let's say hypothetically, we go the route of community meeting. Okay? Then there should be a committee, ad hoc, we want to use that term, and panel to make sure that documentation that's going to be brought before the board is from all the various parties, and to have a subgroup, ad hoc committee, work with the various community organizations that will be represented, where it's like Village Property Owners Association, whether it's Rose Hill Property Owners Association, whether it's Concerned Neighbors of El Sereno, to make sure that when we have this meeting, to make sure that they understand to bring the documentation, and then that way, once the documentation is being brought in, it's then being facilitated properly to the rest of the board so they can make an informed and assessed decision. That's my only caveat to going out with the motion, but I would think once we get the motion and they take it to the Bureau Board and the Bureau Board approves it, then we should put a petition that an ad hoc committee should be set up. I would say membership and outreach committee maybe should also take charge of this, okay? So that way we have a core group that's designated to handle this situation and then gather the information and to bring it back so we have that information ready for committee. That's I guess my appendix to the motion.
So what you're saying is that we should have an ad hoc committee, gather all the information from the different areas, and then have the general board meeting with all that information.
And what I'm saying
The ad
is,
hoc should not be making a recommendation, is that what you're saying, or are you saying?
well, what I'm
it's ad hoc
saying is
so